What is water? We think it is life. We think it is free. We dig wells, build dams, pipe it into our homes. But what if water has memory? What if the springs remember the hands that first blessed them, the lips that first drank, the queen who first claimed them as her own? This is the story of a necklace that was not jewelry, but a title deed. A story that flows across generations to ask, when you drink from a sacred spring without honoring its guardian, does the water you swallow remember you as a guest? Or as a thief? In the time of the Great Thirst, when the rivers of the eastern lands ran dry and armies crumbled to dust, there rose a warrior queen named Amazulu. She was not born to rule. She was born to fight. And when her people faced annihilation not by sword, but by drought, she made a covenant not with gods, but with the earth itself. For 7 days and 7 nights, Amazulu walked the barren land alone. She bled into the cracked soil. She whispered the names of every ancestor she could remember. And on the 7th night, in a place marked only by a single, ancient baobab, the ground spoke to her. Not in words, but in water. A spring surged upward, cool and clear, right beneath her feet. She did not drink. She cupped the water in her palms and raised it to the moon. "This is not mine," she said. "I am its caretaker. Let this water remember my face, my voice, my lineage. Let it flow only for those I welcome." The spring became the queen's vein, the hidden source that saved her kingdom. And from the sacred stones of that spring, Amazulu commissioned a necklace, 33 iridescent beads and a central pearl that held a single, preserved tear of the first water. It was not decoration. It was the map. Each bead represented a secret spring. Each gleam a direction. The necklace was the key to the queen's covenant. For generations, it passed from guardian to guardian. Then, in the chaos of colonization, it was lost. Stolen. Smuggled across oceans. It became a museum piece, then a private collector's prize, then a forgotten relic in a London vault. Until Nia found it. Nia was not a thief. She was a repatriation officer for the Legacy Restoration Initiative, a woman who spent her life tracking down looted African artifacts and bringing them home. She was methodical, relentless, and deeply haunted by the stories of loss her grandmother had whispered to her as a child. This necklace, the Tears of Amazulu, was her white whale. When it surfaced in a private estate sale, Nia pulled every string, exhausted every budget, and secured it. She flew with it personally to Zimbali, the modern village built near the site of the legendary Queen's Vein. The elders received her with gratitude. The necklace was placed in a secure, climate-controlled vault in the new community cultural center. But Nia couldn't leave it alone. She felt a pull. An obsession. The necklace was beautiful, yes, but it was more than that. It felt active. When she held it, she could almost hear water trickling. She began to study its beads obsessively, photographing them, mapping their colors and patterns. She discovered something the historians had missed. The beads weren't just symbolic. They were topographical. Their specific shades of blue and green corresponded to mineral signatures of different water sources. Their arrangement on the cord formed a constellation, a three-dimensional map of springs hidden across the region. Some were known. Others had been lost for over a century. Nia, driven by a mix of scholarly ambition and something deeper, something thirsty, decided to find them. Not to exploit them. To document them. To prove the necklace's power and secure its legacy. She convinced a local hydrologist, a pragmatic man named Marvelous, to help her. Their first expedition, guided by the largest blue bead, led them to a dried riverbed 10 kilometers from Zimbali. Nothing but dust and stone. Marvelous was skeptical. Nia knelt, held the pearl up to the sun, and whispered, "I am the caretaker. Let this water remember." The ground beneath her knees grew damp. Then wet. Then a thin, silver thread of water seeped upward, pooling around her fingers. Marvelous stared, speechless. Nia wept. She had unlocked the first spring. She believed she was fulfilling Amazulu's legacy. She did not understand she was also inheriting the Queen's expectations. The second spring was harder to find. The bead that guided Nia there was a deep, midnight blue, almost black. It led them to a cave behind a waterfall, a place the locals avoided. They called it Umfolozi's mouth, believing it swallowed anyone who entered without permission. Nia, flush with her first success, ignored the warnings. She entered the cave, the necklace glowing faintly in the darkness. The water she awakened here was different. It was cold, almost aggressive, surging up with a force that nearly knocked her over. Marvelous pulled her back, shaken. "Something doesn't want us here," he said. Nia dismissed his fear. "It's just water that's been trapped. We're freeing it." But that night, she dreamed of Amazulu. Not the noble queen of legend. A furious Amazulu, her face streaked with war paint, her spear pointed directly at Nia's chest. The queen spoke in a language Nia didn't know, but understood perfectly. "You wear my face. You speak my words. But you are not my blood. Who gave you permission to wake my children?" Nia woke gasping, her throat sandpaper dry. No amount of water could quench her thirst. She drank and drank, but her body rejected it, as if her own cells had forgotten how to accept moisture. The third spring was a mistake. A young, ambitious journalist named Nicole had followed Nia's expeditions, hungry for a story. She begged Nia to take her to the next site. Nia, weakened by her growing, mysterious dehydration, reluctantly agreed. The bead for the third spring was a pale, silvery green. It led them to a grove of ancient olive trees, long dead, their twisted branches reaching skyward like beseeching hands. Nia performed the ritual, the pearl glowing, the ground trembling. Water erupted. But it was not clear. It was brown, silt-choked, and it carried not life, but memory. Visions flooded from the spring, not of Amazulu's reign, but of its violation. Foreign soldiers drinking from this very water without offering thanks. A woman guardian dragged away, screaming. The spring being deliberately poisoned so no one could use it. Nicole, caught in the vision, screamed and collapsed. When she woke, her voice was gone. Not her throat, her will to speak. She would never utter another word. The spring had taken her voice as restitution for the silenced guardian. Nia finally understood. The necklace was not a tool. It was a test. Amazulu's covenant required not just the ability to find water, but the authority to claim it. Nia had been using the Queen's map without the Queen's blood. She was not a caretaker. She was a trespasser. And the water was beginning to recognize her as an enemy. The final straw was the spring beneath Zimbali itself. The original Queen's vein, now capped and piped to supply the entire village. Nia, desperate to understand her growing connection to the necklace, requested access to the source. The elders refused. The spring was sacred, they said. Only the appointed guardian could approach it. Nia, her thirst now a constant, agonizing companion, made a reckless decision. She went at night, alone, with the necklace. She found the sealed chamber where the Queen's vein emerged. It was a modest, concrete-lined pool, nothing like the legendary fountain she had imagined. She knelt, dipped her fingers, and raised the water to her lips. The moment it touched her tongue, the necklace screamed. Not audibly. In her mind. 1,000 voices, layered, ancient, furious. The beads flared with blinding light. The pearl at the center cracked. And from that crack flowed not water, but blood, the preserved, vengeful essence of every spring Amazulu had ever claimed. Nia's body convulsed. She saw Amazulu clearly now, not as a dream, but standing before her in the chamber, solid as stone. The queen's face was not angry. It was disappointed. Amazulu, echoing, eternal, you found my children. You woke them. But you never asked if they wished to be found. A map without permission is a weapon. A key without a lock is a curse. You have worn my tears as adornment. Now you will carry them as penance. The queen touched Nia's chest. Not violently. Gently. Like a mother adjusting a child's necklace. And the beads of the Tears of Amazulu, one by one, detached from their cord and entered Nia's skin. They embedded themselves along her collarbone, her sternum, her throat, 33 iridescent stones now fused with her flesh, visible beneath her skin like submerged jewels. Nia did not die. She did not even scream. She simply accepted. The thirst that had plagued her vanished, replaced by something far heavier, responsibility. When the elders found her at dawn, she was sitting calmly by the pool. The necklace was gone. In its place, Nia herself had become the map. The living covenant. The new guardian. She can no longer leave Zimbali. The springs are anchored to her now. If she travels too far, the water in her veins, both literal and metaphorical, will sense the abandonment and retreat back into the earth, sealing themselves forever. She is not imprisoned. She is enshrined. The village treats her with reverence, brings her offerings, consults her before any new well is dug. But she is also alone. Marvelous visits, but his scientist's mind cannot accept what she has become. Nicole never speaks again. The outside world moves on. Nia, the repatriation officer who brought the tears home, has become part of the repatriation. She is no longer the finder. She is the found. And deep in the dry riverbeds of the eastern lands, other springs lie dormant. Other beads on other, undiscovered necklaces wait for their own guardians. The covenant Amazulu forged is vast, ancient, and patient. It does not forget. It does not forgive. It only appoints. Nia thought she was saving history. Instead, history claimed her. Her story teaches us that some treasures are not meant to be possessed, they are meant to be served. The map is not the territory. The key is not the door. And when you unlock a covenant you do not understand, you may find yourself not on the threshold of discovery, but on the altar of obligation. But what do you think? Was Nia a victim of her own noble intentions, or did her arrogance in claiming the queen's power without the queen's blood seal her fate? Could she have honored the necklace without becoming its prisoner? Let me know in the comments below. The queen's covenant spans this entire thirsty land, and there are other beads on other necklaces waiting to be found. To witness the next guardian's awakening, you must subscribe and hit the bell. If tales of sacred objects and the terrible weight of legacy haunt you, you cannot miss the only witness to the stolen kingdom's treasure was a parrot. The link is on the screen right now. Don't forget to subscribe for more original, chilling tales from the Safari of Tales. We follow the water wherever it flows. Until next time, ask permission before you drink.